You may finally have the time and freedom in your later years, but that doesn't mean you should go everywhere. In this deeply reflective and powerful video, an old man shares life-changing lessons about the 10 places every senior should avoid, no matter how free or curious they feel. These aren't just physical locations. They are emotional spaces, mental traps, and social environments that can quietly steal your peace, drain your energy, and blur your purpose. If you're over 50, these lessons will challenge how you see the world and where you spend your most precious resource, your time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more wisdom every week. Share your experience in the comments. Have you visited any of these places? Turn on notifications so you never miss a new story or life lesson. Let me ask you something, friend. Now that you're older, maybe retired, maybe with grown children, maybe with a quiet home and plenty of time, do you ever feel like you finally have the freedom to go wherever you please? I used to feel that way too. But what I've learned is this: freedom without wisdom can be dangerous. Just because you can go somewhere doesn't mean you should. Today I want to share with you 10 places you must avoid as you grow older. These places, some physical, some emotional, took years from me, and I don't want them to steal a single minute more from you. Number 1. The past that no longer serves you. The first place I beg you not to visit too often is the past, especially the parts that still ache. Let me explain how constantly revisiting old regrets, lost opportunities, and painful memories weighs down the heart. The past that no longer serves you, a deep reflection narrated in the old man's calm, reflective voice. You see, the past has two doors. One leads to wisdom, the other to wounds, and I spent far too many years walking through the wrong one. When we talk about avoiding the past, we're not saying to forget it. Our past holds our stories, our lessons, our milestones. But for many seniors, especially once retirement slows things down and silence fills the house, the past becomes a place they start visiting more than the present. Some visit out of habit, some out of guilt, others out of longing. They think, I should have taken that job. If I hadn't made that mistake, I wish I'd married someone else. I should have spent more time with my kids. And before they know it, they're living in rooms of regret, replaying the same film over and over, as if watching it will somehow change the ending. The problem with staying there, when you spend too much time in the past, you freeze the present, you postpone your healing, you blind yourself to what's still possible. It becomes a trap, a comfort zone for your pain. You start identifying more with who you were than who you are, or who you could still become. Why this matters in old age. In later life, time becomes more visible. You feel it differently. And if you're not careful, your mind will tell you that your story is already written, that your past defines you now more than your present. But that's a lie. Healing at 60 is still healing. Growth at 70 is still growth. Purpose at 80 is still purpose. You can't rewrite the past, but you can reframe it. You can stop visiting the parts of your history that keep dragging you through pain, and instead visit the ones that taught you something. Use those lessons like lanterns, not anchors. Wisdom tip: transform reflection into restoration. Don't dwell, discern. Instead of why did this happen to me, ask what did this teach me. Journal your turning points. Write down the 3 most painful moments of your life, and one thing you learned from each. Speak kindly to your younger self. Say out loud, you did your best with what you knew. Practice time travel with purposes. Visit the past only when it's useful, not to relive guilt, but to renew your gratitude. Closing thoughts from the old man: the past is like a photo album. You don't live in it, you look through it, smile, maybe tear up, then put it back on the shelf. I don't go there to suffer anymore. I go there to remember how far I've come, and then I return to today, to this moment. Because this moment still needs me, and it still needs you too. Why it matters: living in regret weakens the spirit. Seniors often find themselves stuck in cycles of what if and if only. Wisdom tip: visit your past only to collect wisdom, not wounds. Reflect, learn, and let go. I lost 10 years in bitterness over a mistake I made in my 40s. One day I realized the past is not a home, it's a museum. Visit briefly, then return to the present, where life is still happening. Number 2. Places filled with toxic people. Second, don't go where your peace is always on trial. As we age, protecting peace becomes more important than pleasing others. The old man shares a story of reconnecting with an old friend, only to be constantly criticized and belittled. The silent drain of toxic people. As we get older, we begin to see with clearer eyes. We start noticing the way certain people make us feel after a conversation, not during it. And if you walk away from someone consistently feeling smaller, agitated, confused, or invisible, you're likely standing in the presence of a toxic person. These people can show up in many forms. The lifelong friend who only calls to complain or criticize. The relative who constantly reminds you of your shortcomings. The neighbor who gossips about everyone and plants seeds of bitterness. The old flame who keeps you stuck in emotional confusion. Even the adult child who manipulates your love and guilt. Why it matters more as you age. When you're younger, you have the energy to absorb chaos, argue back, or just ignore it. But in later years, your energy is sacred. Every emotional drain is a theft from your joy, your health, and your remaining time. The old man might say, I had a friend named Thomas. We knew each other for over 40 years. But every time we spoke, I felt tired, not physically, but spiritually. He complained about everyone, including me. He mocked my choices. At 70, I decided that peace was more important than loyalty to pain. I stopped answering his calls, and I never looked back. What makes someone toxic? It's not about perfection. Everyone has flaws. A toxic person is someone who makes you feel guilty for being happy, talks more than they listen, and hears only to judge, belittles your accomplishments or age, expects emotional labor without ever giving back, keeps you stuck in the past instead of helping you move forward. Signs you're spending time in the wrong room. You feel drained, not energized, after seeing them. You anticipate conflict before every interaction. You question your worth because of their words. You relive arguments in your head long after they're over. You feel obligated, not delighted to be around them. This is my wisdom tip. Love from a distance. You don't always need to cut people off harshly, but you do need to reposition your heart and redraw your circle. Limit contact. Don't argue. Set clear boundaries. Stop seeking approval from those who thrive on disapproval. You can love someone and still walk away. Forgiveness doesn't require reunion. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go. I once had Sunday dinners with a few old friends. After every meal, I felt sad. They'd talk about who had died, who had cancer, and who had failed in life. At first I thought it was just age catching up. Then I realized it wasn't age. It was atmosphere. So I started having lunch alone in the park, same time, different place. And you know what? The birds never complained. The breeze never criticized. That's when I knew peace is a choice, and I started choosing it. Why is this one of the most important places to avoid? Because you become what surrounds you. At this age, you need people who light you up, not pull you down. Conversations that are kind, not corrosive. Environments where your soul can breathe, not shrink. What to do? Instead, build new friendships with others who value peace and purpose. Join quiet reading groups, walking clubs, or faith communities. Spend time with nature, pets, or your own thoughts. Places that pour in, not pull out. Choose people who remind you of sunlight, not storms. Number 3. Crowded, chaotic environments. You're not weak for preferring quiet. You're wise. I recalls my younger days, chasing crowds and noise, thinking they brought life. Now I sees how overstimulation can unsettle the nervous system and cloud the mind. Why it matters. Overcrowded places, noisy malls, traffic-packed cities, parties with loud music can trigger anxiety and fatigue, especially as we age. Wisdom tip: seek calm, not chaos. Let your nervous system breathe. A simple walk by the river brings more joy than a room full of noise. Nerves to love the stillness. Number 4. The comparison trap. Avoid going to the place where everyone seems happier, richer, or more accomplished than you. Let me talk about social media and senior groups, where people constantly compare achievements, families, or finances. Why it matters. Comparison steals contentment. At this stage of life, peace is greater than prestige. Wisdom tip: gratitude is your compass. Let it point you back to what you already have. I stopped comparing my journey when I realized every soul walks a different road, and every road has unseen thorns. Number 5. Unnecessary hospitals or clinics. Now don't get me wrong, I believe in checkups and medicine, but I don't believe in turning fear into a routine. In my early 60s, I became a hypochondriac, constantly visiting clinics, until a doctor gently told me, "You're healthy, but you need peace." Why it matters. Over-visiting medical facilities can breed anxiety and obsession with illness. Focus on preventive wellness, not fear-based obsession. Care for your health with wisdom. Number 6. Gossip-filled spaces. Never visit the room where people speak more about others than their own hearts. Let me tell you something, child. Not every voice deserves your ear, and not every conversation is worth sitting through. As we grow older, we start craving peace. But gossip-filled spaces are where peace quietly suffocates. These are the corners where people speak about others behind closed lips and smiling faces, where judgment replaces curiosity, where rumors wear the clothes of concern, and where your own spirit starts to shrink the longer you stay. Whether it's a neighbor's living room, a group chat, a church circle turns sour, or even a family gathering, if the air turns heavy with judgment, you're in the wrong place. I once sat on a bench where the women talked about every passerby, what they wore, who they married, and how much they aged. I got up quietly and never sat there again. My heart didn't feel clean after listening. Why seniors must avoid gossip now more than ever. At this stage in life, your soul needs restoration, not corrosion. Gossip doesn't just poison the person being talked about, it stains the listener too. It keeps your thoughts small, your mind noisy, and your spirit restless. And worst of all, it invites judgment into your own life. If they talk to you about others, they'll talk to others about you. What to do instead? Be the one who changes the topic, not the one who spreads it. Surround yourself with builders, not whisperers. Choose environments where people speak with love, or not at all. Number 7. Places that trigger old addictions. You're not too old to fall again. The old man gets real, talking about bars, casinos, unhealthy food courts, or even toxic TV shows that can pull one back into old habits. The older I got, the more I realized some places aren't just physical, they're emotional traps wearing familiar faces. There are places that carry the scent of an old weakness, bars you used to frequent, casinos that stole your sleep, neighborhoods where bad habits were born, even the armchair where you used to sit with a drink or scroll the night away. And for some, addiction doesn't just mean alcohol or gambling. It can be food, television, toxic relationships, even overthinking. You may feel stronger now, wiser, more in control, but certain environments have a way of waking up what you thought was buried. I walked past an old pub once, hadn't been inside in 20 years, but just the sound of the laughter, the smell of smoke, the flash of neon, it stirred something in me. I stood there longer than I should have. That's when I knew I hadn't conquered the addiction. I just stopped feeding it. So, Iselis, Butchedsim, protecting your peace means avoiding the spark. At an older age, your mind and heart crave peace, but they also remember pain. Certain places stir cravings, regrets, and emotional slips, and the cost of just one more time is far too high now. So avoid the sparks that once lit the fire. Skip the old haunts that brought more harm than joy. Be careful about reconnecting with people who remind you of your weakest moments. Don't test your limits in the name of nostalgia. Why it matters. Addiction doesn't vanish with age. It hides, and it waits. Avoid temptation. Choose environments that nurture self-control and joy. I haven't had a drink in 22 years, not because I hate liquor, but because I love my peace more. Number 8. Places that exhaust, not energize. You at 40, I chased exhaustion. At 80, I chase energy. I recalls how certain errands, events or outings would leave him feeling drained, not fulfilled. Energy becomes sacred as we age. Protect it. Learn the difference between doing more and living well. If you don't leave a place lighter than you entered, maybe you shouldn't go there. Number 9. Conversations that turned into complaints. Stop going into conversations just to unload your pain. He talks about how his coffee meetups with other seniors would turn into health complaints and grievances, until he changed the tone. Constant complaining rewires the brain for negativity. Speak life, speak dreams, speak gratitude, even when it's hard. You can be honest without being hopeless. Number 10. The future that hasn't happened yet. Don't visit a future that hasn't invited you. I've spent too many nights fearing things that never happened. I've paid emotional rent for a future that never came. As you get older, a strange kind of fear can settle in, not about what has happened, but about what might. What if your health fails? What if your savings run dry? What if you're alone one day? The mind starts writing stories, dark stories, stories filled with worry, worst-case scenarios, and imagined endings. But here's the truth, you don't belong in the future. Not yet. It hasn't earned your attention. I used to lie awake imagining hospital beds and funerals, but I woke up every morning to sunshine and birds. That's when I realized I was living in fear, not in fact. Why you must stop living in tomorrow. When you're older, your moments are more sacred, but anxiety steals them away. The future becomes a thief when you constantly visit it without purpose. You waste today trying to control what hasn't even been written yet. Ask yourself, is this happening now, or am I imagining it? Allah. Practice gratitude for what is not what might be lost. Remember, you are strong enough to handle tomorrow, but only when it becomes today. Worry doesn't prepare you for the future. It only empties your present. Don't visit a place that hasn't opened its doors yet. Stay where your feet are. That's where peace lives. So my friend, you may have all the time in the world now, but time isn't just for spending, it's for investing. Be careful where you go. Be careful what you allow into your spirit. Avoid the past that punishes, the crowd that clutters, the voice that poisons. Choose places that give you peace, nourish your soul, and remind you that your best days can still be ahead. You've earned your freedom, now use it wisely. Protect your peace, choose your places. Subscribe for more daily wisdom from the old man. Which of these places do you need to stop visiting? Tell us in the comments.